Anuj, hi, what happened?
Hey, hi.
Hi,
Just one more loose panel in my car.
with your Tiago EV.
Yes, unfortunately, just one more.
We'll talk each and every one of them in detail. So, how long it's been with this car?
It has been 3 years since we have got almost 3 years since we got in car.
And how many kilometers have you driven?
It's completed almost 25,000.
I'm assuming this is your primary car for the city.
Yes, for me, purely used in the city, so it is a primary car in the city.
Do you have any long drive car which you prefer?
We do have the XEV, so we use that mostly for the long drives, my family that is.
Okay.
And yeah, for me personally, I stick to this car in the city. I'm quite particular about it.
Why?
The size is for me a big difference in driving in Bangalore. Everyone knows Bangalore is very difficult to navigate in traffic and to most importantly find parking. So I find that in this car I can just park anywhere. It's almost as good as having 800 again. So the size is not comparable, but I'm happy with the size, so it's good for me in the city.
How much range do you get in this?
On average, I get, with my aggressive driving, I think I still get around 180 to 200 quite easily in the city area, that is.
Okay, let's define what's aggressive driving in this car in cities.
I'm always pushing hard on the accelerator. I'm always trying to weave in open gaps that, easily I can pass through easily. I try to be efficient in braking with the Regen.
You prefer regeneration to add some range over braking?
Yeah, I find that as long as I use the Regeneration, I'm much more efficient for sure, but also that it's probably safer for me to brake using a longer distance using the Regen, because I don't want the vehicle behind to be caught off guard by my sudden braking.
Now let's talk about the best things which you absolutely enjoy in this car every time you take out.
I think my favorite by far is the instant pickup. It's not as powerful as a lot of other EVs, but because of its size and lightweight, I think the fact that I can just hit on the accelerator and take off in any moment inside the city and overtake almost anybody is quite convenient. I do believe I save a lot of time by being able to just pass vehicles, not with aggressive driving, but just because the size being a little smaller than the crossover SUVs and all of that, I can just go for those gaps that normally in a bigger car I would think twice about that. And with the Regen, I'm able to drive guilt-free, knowing that I'm not spending any more fuel or burning any more fuel and paying 300 rupees more per fuel tank.
When you got this car, what was the on-road price?
Little foggy on the memory, but around 11.7 or I think 11.5 maybe.
And this is the long range with 25 kilowatt hour battery.
Yeah, the 24 kilowatt hour.
Okay.
I think the suspension by far is one of the most underrated features of Tata. I do appreciate the fact that they understand Indian conditions quite well and have given even in this car a very nice soft suspension that on most potholes and most major humps, which most cars can't clear in India, this car clears those humps comfortably and goes through those potholes without the passenger feeling discomfort. Maybe at a higher speed we may get thrown around, but this car is not meant for that. So I have personally, even in the passenger seat, not felt any discomfort because of such a good suspension. Seat comfort I do find to be quite sufficient. While I do get thrown around due to a lack of side supports, I've never been uncomfortable in these seats, even on a long drive of maybe a couple of hours in the city.
You are mentioning about the jerks and the uncomfortable feeling that you get because of the acceleration and regeneration. Can you elaborate that?
Yeah, I find that amongst the EVs that I've driven over the years, that this is probably, and not just this Tata, but all Tatas EVs, they tend to have a very awkward regeneration system wherein the Regen is good, it's strong enough and what I would like in a car EV, but there seems to be a system of either on or off. As a driver, I'm not able to hold a foot position and keep the car coasting. For example, when I'm driving in Regen 3, when the car is moving forward, I'm either pressing the accelerator to move forward, or if I bring the foot back to just slow down a bit and maintain a constant speed of say 70, I'm not able to do that because the moment I release the accelerator above a certain point, the car triggers the Regen and turns off the acceleration. So basically the car slows down and then I end up having to compensate by again pressing the accelerator and bringing the car back to the speed that I want. So there's a constant back and forth fight going on between the acceleration and the regeneration, and the passenger in the backseat ends up moving back and forth a lot. So I'm assuming they may get motion sickness because of that reason. And as a driver who knows how to drive a lot of cars and I've driven a lot of EVs, I realize that this system in Tata seems to be a big problem because that seems to be the core cause of the motion sickness. So if I do have passengers, I tend to turn off the Regen or keep it at a low level just so that they don't feel motion sickness.
Are there any issues in terms of panels coming out or the rusting of the doors?
Oh, I have a lot to say about that, but I have to appreciate them first for the really strong steel they have used on the car. It gives a sense of confidence that if tomorrow there was something unfortunate to happen, that the car would still protect me despite being a smaller car. But yes, when it comes to build quality and fit and finish, I would say that the plastic all over the car are a major issue. I have had to go to the service center multiple times for minor issues, and even right now we have these panels here that are shaking even after being fixed.
These panels.
Yes, this
that
is fine right now, but this has started becoming loose. Even the day I got the delivery, actually, the panel below the steering wheel was coming off, and I had to go back to them during the service and ask them to fix it, which again they didn't do it properly, so I had to again go back a second time to get them to fix it, which they did finally. But then the point being that there always seems to be something or the other which is I have to pay attention to. At the service center, they don't really take initiative by themselves to find out what's wrong with the car, and it's quite obvious that the panel is loose at the moment you open and close the door, for example, and yet they don't do anything by themselves to rectify it, and I have to go to them each and every single time and say that this is loose or this is the problem, and then they rectify it. Or even if when I do that, sometimes they forget to do so. It's not just the fact that there's a lot of loose panels, it's the fact that a lot of these loose panels never get rectified permanently. The rattling noises do irritate, and eventually you learn to ignore the noises.
And what about the charging socket and the connector?
I feel like the way they have implemented the charging system in this car seems to be a bit of an afterthought. They have not really thought about how this should be done, because they've just replaced the petrol system with the electric charging port. Hence, for me to open the charging door, I have to get into the car and pull a tab. And that's a bit inconvenient, because in most other cars you can just walk up to the charging door and just push it open. And the metal door had the issue where it would open every time I hit a pothole. There seems to be some major problem with the quality control in that department, because I've seen a lot of Tiagos, not just mine, driving with their charging door open. And despite multiple complaints, they identify that the hook that is there to keep the door closed, that bends, and so they would just bend it back into place and then close the door again, saying it's done. And for the longest time, unfortunately my car would keep the door would keep opening, but recently I managed to force them to repair it under warranty, and they accepted that it can be replaced under warranty, and thankfully it didn't cost me anything to fix that issue, and as of now the door does not open. Also, I'll add that the way the charging system works in terms of when you complete your charging, that also seems to be an issue, because when a charging completes, the gun doesn't automatically unlock. If somebody else is waiting at a charging station after me, they have to wait for me to unlock my car and then push the charge unlock button inside the car before I can remove the gun. And it's not just an inconvenience for someone else, it's inconvenience for me, because at home, if I need to disconnect my charging gun, I end up having to first unlock the door, then push that button, and only then I have to get around the car and remove the charging gun. And these are steps, unnecessary steps, that it creates a small inconvenience which makes the ownership experience a slightly less comfortable experience.
You were asking me to find the difference between these two ORVMs.
Yes.
Can you tell about that?
I mean, if your audience can have a look as well, the two side mirrors are actually different. The shining level, gloss level is different. I had a side minor accident which required a replacement of one of the mirrors. And after Tata replaced the mirrors immediately on the spot in the service center, I could recognize that the newer mirror seems to be very, very old looking, while the old mirror, which is 2.5 years, almost 3 years old, and finished 25,000 kilometers under the sun, seems to be glossy and shiny. And when I pointed that out to them, they refused to acknowledge that in fact they have put a part which is looking outdated and used. And but now I can see it. That's not just my eyes. Everyone can recognize that clearly there's a manufacturing issue and a quality issue with the way the parts that are being supplied.
I remember last year you were referring about an issue with the battery, that it wasn't charging. It took you around 2 or 3 weeks to fix it. Can you elaborate that?
I'll correct you there. It took 2 to 3 months to correct, actually.
Whoa.
But in that particular incident, we had basically a charging fault, which we still don't understand why it happened. Thankfully, they did replace the full battery and the electronic system under warranty, because they weren't able to figure out what the issue is. So they ended up accepting that they have no idea what was going on, but that's the reason it ended up taking so much time. Wherein the slow charger was not working, but the DC charging, fast charging was working. So we had to basically give them the car, and then we saw that they're not able to figure it out, and then they gave us back the car after a couple of days, saying we're not sure, we'll get back to you, so your DC fast charger can't use it. And then again they would take the car back after a couple of weeks and say, okay, we'll figure it out now. And then even then they would keep it for 7 days and then return it afterwards saying we're not able to solve it. Over time that became very frustrating, and especially because during those 7 days when they kept the car and constantly promised to rectify the issue, we never really got any other vehicle as compensation or any cash amount as compensation for whatever we've in fact, at one point they DC fast charged the car and returned it to us and then charged us 300 rupees for that as well.
Which is the car was in the service center and you charged your car there. Yeah. And they charged for that?
Yes, they charged me a premium, which is much more than the outside public charging rates. They charged me almost, I think, 35 rupees per unit. Wow. And after, again, a lot of back and forth regarding that charge, they finally waived the charge. So there's a lot of very unprofessional behavior from Tata employees in the service.
Takes a lot of fighting.
Yes, takes a lot of fighting, which is not, again, it's, as a owner, you shouldn't have to do that. You should just give them the car and expect them to rectify any issues that are there, which shouldn't be there, rather.
I agree.
And that was one incident wherein, eventually they replaced the battery system and they returned the car, and we've not had any charging issues since then, so that has been rectified. But unfortunately, this accident that happened and required a door replacement, that took a full 45 days to complete, because after I'd given them the car, they were supposed to do the service first and then do the body shop repair, which they didn't do. Apparently, after the service, which I had pointed a couple of issues, again they forgot to rectify those. They did a basic service. Again, they charged me 4,500 for basic service, which in an EV, I don't understand how that's possible. And then after 10 days, when I would call them and ask them about the body shop situation, they said, we don't know. And we'll get back to you. And then again, after 10 more days, I would call them and check. And then I started pursuing them on a daily basis. And they still didn't know the situation. And then at one point, they finally admitted, we don't know the status of the car because we can't find it.
They can't find the car. They
couldn't find the car in their own service center, and at least on record, they weren't sure which car I was referring to, because the person who was I had given the car to, he was on leave for some other reason.
Okay.
And after so many days of again back and forth and fighting, finally they say, okay, this is the situation. We have not even touched the car, and we're going to need 5 more days or 6 more days. And then again, that was a longer process than 6 days, because they said, okay, now we need to procure the parts, and it's Diwali time and the factory is on holiday, so we can't procure it. So that took another 2 weeks to complete. And after 2 more weeks, so a total of 45 days, I finally got my car back, only to find that the new ORVM that was fixed is looking older than the old one. And again, to get them to acknowledge that, I had to fight them for another week, after which they finally, through an email, admitted that, yeah, they may have some OEM manufacturing issues, which they will get back to and rectify in my car later on. And after the email acknowledgement as well, it's been more than 2 months. It's been almost 3 months. And there's still no update from them regarding their promise to rectify their mistakes and their manufacturing defects. And then they continue to sell us the extended warranty scheme by telling us, see, you already have all of these issues, so do you really want to take the risk of not having a warranty after 3 years? So I tell, it's very tempting to take the extended warranty. I'm still having some time to consider it, but maybe it's better just to sell the car than to actually pay the amount for the problems of the ownership.
You got this at 11.5 3 years back, approximately. Now, if you want to sell, how much price do you think you can quote for this car?
I think, so the price I had bought it at was a bit of a premium, because we were the initial batch of customers, and the confidence with which I purchased the car was obviously different. I would say that with the change of battery tech availability and even the own Tata models being much more value for money like the Punch, I'd say that I wouldn't expect more than 8 for this. In fact, I'd be lucky to get 8. So I would say 7 to 8 is probably my expected price range.
Now that we have spoken everything about the car from the outside, let's get inside now. What is this loud noise?
That seems to be the AC noise.
Let's reduce it then. Noise comfortable?
Yeah, it's quite comfortable.
But is it cool enough?
I think it's quite cool.
Okay. So when you put that to max, that gets slightly uncomfortably noisy.
Yeah, only the noise is an issue. I feel the cooling is quite comfortable.
Okay. So this AC, how much would you rate on 10?
Out of 10, I think I should easily give it a 7, or maybe, if I'm being a little more critical, 6, because of the issues I've faced.
Like?
Particularly the problem of the outside smell coming in, even with the recirculation on, and despite multiple complaints to Tata and their attempts to fix it, it has reduced, but it has not gone away. And today, while not every outside smell comes through, I think most of these more stronger smells do come pass through the filtration system.
The last time when I did a drive review, long back, you can find it here, I found an issue with this gear shifter. Was it only me, or do you also face it?
Yeah, I think this is a common complaint amongst most of the Tata EVs that have this particular type of gas shifter. It seems to be very badly designed and very poorly thought of, mechanically, ergonomically, in every possible way. For example, under direct sunlight, as a driver, I'm not able to see the light, which tells me at what gear I have selected, whether I'm in reverse or neutral or drive. I need to refer to the driver display to understand which drive mode I'm in. Secondly, the input from the car, the input that the car receives from me is not being registered. If I shift from reverse to drive quickly, even though I'm meeting all the conditions required to shift the car from reverse to drive, the car doesn't register that I'm already pressing the brake pedal, and in fact tells me to press the brake pedal to change gear. Now that takes me an extra 1 to 2 seconds every time I need to change the drive mode. So if I'm doing a quick U-turn on the busy road, that's a major problem. And as a person, as any person on the road would be a little confused in that pressure situation about what's happening and why the car is not moving. So you're not taking 2 seconds more, you're taking now more than 5 seconds, maybe 8 seconds. And, the frustration and tension builds up. So there's a lot of problem that I can say that we face from this. And yeah, the general ergonomic of it being down here and being a dial shape, I don't appreciate it as such. I don't have a major issue with it being dial shaped, but I don't think anyone who's ever driven my car has ever said that is well thought of.
Apart from this gear shifter, what about the rest of the controls?
Basically, a hit and a miss in a lot of different ways. For example, I appreciate the steering controls. The horn position is perfect for Indian conditions where I don't have to reach to the center just to press it. I can just directly press it from here. While also, I have the cruise control settings here, which is appreciable that a car of this price bracket gets these additional features. Call controls, volume controls, track controls, all well laid out. The steering wheel shape as well, I appreciate it. It's very comfortable, and with how easy and smooth this is to move, I can move with a single finger without any effort. So even in heavy traffic conditions or tight turnings, I'm able to manage all of these functions while turning the car very easily. Other things like say the indicators stock and the wiper stocks, well laid out, well thought of. I appreciate the fact that Tata have actually given nice, good quality indicator stocks. But there are other misses which I have to point out, which I personally, I wish they had put a little more thought behind it. For example, the regen controls being here is odd. And while I appreciate that at least they've given it here and not inside a touch menu, it's still a bit awkward to press these buttons just to increase or reduce the regen. The unlock door button being here is very useful because it's not just me, even my passengers can just unlock all the door locks and get out. Way the door handles open and close are all very nicely done. Maybe I can say that the way this mirror housing sits, that is this night IRVM function, is done very badly.
How about the HillHold?
This car doesn't really have a HillHold. I need to manage with the handbrake. And while in any other petrol or diesel car, managing with the handbrake seems like a no-brainer, in this car particularly, it seems to be an issue because without an EV having gears, there's nothing to hold the car in place. It's free rolling at any angle depending on the gradient of the slope. So, for example, if I'm on a basement slope, the car will roll back as long as I release the handbrake. And you can say I need to ideally compensate with the accelerator pedal. Unfortunately, in my default drive mode, the accelerator pedal, the input of the power isn't strong enough and quick enough that I can prevent the car from rolling back. So there's a lot of skill additional skill required to make sure the car doesn't roll back 1 inch, which is the ideal way to drive. But I'm assuming most people are not able to control this rollback, so hence this is something of an issue for this particular Tiago EV.
How about the headlight? You were referring to the sensitivity of the headlight.
The sensitivity of the auto headlights are quite badly calibrated. A mild shadow from a tree or a metro station could trigger the headlights on, but 10 seconds later, direct sunlight doesn't really turn it off. And it's a bit hard to understand why or how that happens. And while that is a problem that I can just solve by turning this off, I have to also appreciate the fact that their auto sensing wipers are really well calibrated, because it doesn't just randomly turn on for any small drop of water. It does turn on only when there's significant amount of water being falling on the glass. So there's a bit of a hit and miss in their sensitivity settings.
And the rear wiper?
The rear wiper, I would say, is decent. It's does its job of clearing just enough for me to look behind.
Talking about the rear seat, first things first, how about the comfort?
Pretty good. I can say that for 4 people, this can be quite comfortable. My under thigh support, I appreciate it. I think my headroom is good enough even for taller people. This wouldn't be an issue. And yeah, armrest also, arm position is quite comfortable.
There is no light for the rear. There is only one light, a common light in between.
The one in the center, while it's useful for both front and back to some degree, it's not useful to both front and back in a lot of ways, because as a driver, when I need to refer to some documentation immediately, or read something or find something, this particular light is not bright enough and doesn't spread enough to light up the front driver's seat or the passenger footwell area. And even here in the back seat, I think when I'm searching for things at night, I'm not able to depend on this light and end up turning on my phone flashlight.
What is the state of health of the battery now?
In my OBD device, OBD scanner that I have used, it currently shows 96% after 25,000 kilometers. So there's been a 4% degradation.
I'm assuming that you use your car 95% with the home charging.
Yeah, for sure, about maybe more than 95%, could be close to 98% only home charging. I have fast charge outside a little bit, but that's just enough to get myself the range to get back home. But yeah, overall it's been mostly home charging, and the charging has always been from till 100%, because Tata insists on charging till 100% for the BMS calibration. And while I do understand that charging up to 100% and leaving it at 100% for a long time degrades the battery, unfortunately, we don't have that feature in Tata cars to limit the battery percentage like other EV manufacturers.
You have a Kona EV and Mahindra also.
Yes.
XEV90. On 10, can you rate all 3 cars?
By far, I would rate this to be the worst, but it's not been that bad. It served my purpose as well. And maybe if they had fixed the service issues, I wouldn't have been complaining or suffering so much. So maybe 5 out of 10. If I'm being more critical, 4 out of 10, but I'll still say 5 because I'm still happy that it does the job. I guess I could say that in terms of reliability and over the years experience, the Kona has been one of the most comfortable and stress-free EVs to own. Hyundai are very good at the service, and any complaints from my end, they would address it quickly, even though there are very few issues to even address. So that being much older tech, still being reliable, and after 1.2 lakh kilometers, 6 years, not having to even think about the car's state of whatever issues could be there, I think that's a 9 out of 10 easy. Couple of things they could have improved in that car, but that's fine. That car is what it is. And if I had to rate my Mahindra, that is still a little new in the ownership. There are software bugs as well, just like in Tata. But thankfully, the service network and service dealerships and all have been quite responsive and quite happy to address whatever issues we have. In fact, they have Suomoto. They have called us and checked with us, what issues we have had when I posted a software bug on a WhatsApp group, asking me what those issues were and trying to find out the core cause of those issues. The root of how it would have happened. Overall, that car as well has been, as far as hardware fit and finish is concerned, very solid. Software needs work, so I would give that maybe 7, maybe 8 out of 10 at best.
That leads us to the Mahindra XEV9e, which we are going to interview very, very soon. Stay subscribed to not miss that. And what do you think about this car? Please do let us know in the comments below.